Hello every pony, and welcome back to Quills and Rockets. I'm Astro.
And I'm Thornquill.
And today, we'll be looking at episode 12 of season 5, Amending Fences. Now, before we start this episode, we have to go back. All the way back. Back 5 years, 5 seasons, and more than 100 episodes to the first 5 minutes of the very first episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
We've hit maximum background pony levels with this episode, and it's one of the simplest and most beautiful we've had. I really had no idea what to expect, but I never thought it would bring up Twilight's old acquaintances from her pre-Ponyville days.
The episode starts off with Twilight realizing that she's not been a good friend to everyone, specifically her friends back in Canterlot that she left without even saying goodbye to. What friends, might you ask? These friends.
There you are, Twilight! Moondancer is having a little get-together in the West Castle courtyard. You wanna come?
My God, the nostalgia. That takes me back. The first time I saw that scene, I was actually trying to find reasons to hate the show. And failing marvelously.
And look at us now, reading pony fanfiction and reviewing episodes of a show made for little girls.
No regrets. Twilight's come a long way too, though, and she realizes that, in the process, she's left her old friends behind completely. This is where I really started to get interested, as this is both a very sad and very realistic idea as lives move on and some relationships fail to carry through. Twilight, feeling guilty over letting her old friendships die, decides to set out and repair the damage.
And so we take a walk down memory lane, starting with Twilight's old room, which has been untouched since her rapid departure.
Ugh, this is hitting the perfect emotional notes so far. The state of her old rooms perfectly represents the sadness and uncertainty Twilight's suddenly being faced with, as well as throwing all of us down one hell of a nostalgia trip. I remember the first grudging respect for the animators I felt seeing Nightmare Moon subtly animated into that hourglass. So many feels.
And look, the present that got beat up when Twilight slammed open the door for the first time. And it wasn't meant for Twilight? Wow, this actually is answering a lot of really old questions. Like, what was Spike doing with that gift in the beginning? What was it? Who was it for?
Indeed. Back when Twilight first slammed him into the wall, he does say that it was a gift for Moondancer. Back then, we never had any reason to wonder who Moondancer was, or why Spike might have wanted to drag Twilight to the party.
And Twilight, being such a fantastic friend, has forgotten her old friends' names. One of which is, in fact, Lyra Heartstrings.
And another is Minuet. Alas, not Colgate, but still, fandom confirmed.
So, Twilight heads out to say hi to her old friends, who are more than happy to see her again, and have all been getting along fine.
At first, I thought these reactions were a bit out of sorts between Twilight's high level of despondence and Minuet's contrasting exuberance. But after Twilight is able to deliver a heartfelt apology to her old friends, they shrug it off surprisingly easily, and we begin to see why they at least are so forgiving. As it turns out, they were just used to Twilight's erratic, aloof behavior and just accepted it as who she is. That's strangely beautiful.
Also, Lyra moving to Ponyville around the same time as Twilight is now canon. Hooray for the fandom! After some more adorable trips down memory lane, Twilight realizes that something's missing. Wasn't there another friend on that list?
There was. And even Twilight's other friends seem to have lost track of this one.
Well then, let's go and find her and... Oh, great. She's a crazy cat lady, isn't she?
Not even that. She's a crazy book lady. She and Twilight certainly seem to have a unique rapport in the memory, and now I think we're seeing what Twilight was on her way to becoming before she met her new friends in Ponyville.
But it's more than that. To some degree, this is Twilight's fault. Turns out Moondancer was always shy, but was working on opening up, mainly by throwing a party. A party that her good friend Twilight Sparkle was far too busy to attend.
Oh, ouch. After that, Moondancer refused so many invitations, everyone stopped asking her. And Twilight realizes it's up to her to bring friendship to Moondancer.
And so the Princess of Friendship, Twilight Sparkle, follows Moondancer into her natural habitat, the library, to try and talk with her, with undesirable results at first, until she pulls out one neat little spell that only someone as well-read as Twilight would know. She makes a Horcrux.
After Voldemort level, Pinkie Pie level, Twilight Sparkle level conniving, she tries to convince Moondancer that friendship has more merit than she gives it credit for. Man, this is building up a lot more character development than I gave it credit for, but I'll leave that until later.
Twilight brings Moondancer to her personal library and gives her the key in exchange for dinner. Huh. Where have I seen this before?
I can't believe it. I've never seen so many books in all my life.
You like it?
It's wonderful.
Then it's yours.
Astro, I swear, if you join the shippers on this one...
I'm not! I'll stick with Vinyl and Octavia and Lyra and Bonbon, thank you very much.
Very well. We can remain friends.
Whew. Anyway, Twilight takes Moondancer out to dinner with her old friends, and it goes, as seems to be the trend, not so well. Moondancer isn't interested in making new friends, and after she storms out of the restaurant, we find out why in one of the most feels-jerking deliveries of the season.
Twilight receives an epiphany of what the past must have looked like when she skipped Moondancer's party. And... holy... damn. This hits all new levels of sad. At the risk of speculating, I would say that Moondancer actually looked up to Twilight and really counted on impressing her at this party. And her ignoring it was clearly a singularly devastating blow to Moondancer. Ugh. I don't think I've felt this sad since Tanks for the Memories.
I know what you mean. And honestly, I can relate exactly to how Moondancer is probably feeling. When you're more on the introverted side of life and you try and crawl out of your shell, having people brush off your attempts to be social really hurts, and it makes it seem much easier to stay introverted instead of trying to be social again. Oh, damn it, Larson, you're pulling on all the heartstrings this time, aren't you?
Larson is pulling so many heartstrings this season, I can't even bring in the obvious pun. Well, Twilight brings in the big guns, meaning Pinkie Pie, also Pinkie knows everyone, and lure Moondancer to a new party in an attempt to make up for the one she missed. Oh, geez, Twilight, I don't think you want to be giving Moondancer a large, heavy stick. Don't do it!
Don't worry, this is a kid's show. They can't actually hurt anyone. And so, the floodgates open and everything spills out. All the pent-up emotion pours out, and Twilight finds out just how much she had hurt Moondancer by leaving her. This is Twilight's worst fear come to life, that she had actually, in fact, terribly hurt someone by leaving. By not saying goodbye, by not showing up to that party and supporting her friend. Wow, I feel really, really bad for Moondancer right now.
There is so much going on in this episode, and yet it's all so perfectly within character for everyone involved. This is both so beautiful and so sad. Not only was Twilight accepted as a friend and didn't even realize it, but she failed to pass on that acceptance to the one pony who found something in common with her and tried so hard to share that love of studying with her. This isn't a case of an obsessive pony trying to appeal to Twilight. This is a genuine case of two common interests that failed to connect. And wow, it is so sad to see Moondancer believe it can only come to this end, to the point where she believes friendship can only result in pain for her.
That's a really mature thing to discuss in this show. And so, after everything, Moondancer at last accepts Twilight's friendship and the friendship of her old friends. And just because we haven't had enough nostalgia this episode, the party is concluded with Spike giving Moondancer the wrapped present we saw all that time ago. And what was it? Why, it's a picture of all 6 of them happily together. Okay, I know I've seen this somewhere before.
Best friends.
Given that Twilight was assumed to have no friends before she went to Ponyville, this was all put together extremely well. It turns out she did have friends. Friends who even accepted how aloof to them she was without even realizing it. But her reconnecting with Moondancer brought this episode to an entirely different level. The balance between nostalgia, lost opportunities, and rediscovered connections is simply amazing. And speaking of loss,
It's back, baby! The theme of loss is back in full swing! This time it looks like our theme is, as you so elegantly put it, the loss of opportunity. Either that or the loss of self-worth? Not totally sure.
I think there's a lot of loss in this episode, and that's part of why there's such a feeling of despondency dominating it, especially early on. But in the idealist spirit of MLP, there's a lot of healing going on as well. Twilight realizing just how hurtful she was in ignoring those who tried to share things with her early on is an incredible display of growth from her. And to see a character who never appeared in the show other than by name in passing in the first few minutes so many episodes ago? It's masterful. That's all I have to say on it. But how would you rate it, Astro?
I loved this episode. 9 out of 10 easily. The nostalgia, the feels, and more than anything, seeing how much Twilight has grown over time, and still she can make mistakes too. Heck, there's a small amount of me that sees a parallel to the Nightmare Moon arc here, where Twilight goes off and leaves Moondancer in her shadow. All in all, this episode is simply a masterpiece.
I agree wholeheartedly. 9 out of 10. For me, this episode practically epitomizes what Friendship is Magic has been about from the beginning.
And with that, it's time to wrap this up. This has been Astro Brony,
And Thornquill.
and this is me feeling like I've forgotten something.
Wait. Who's that in the restaurant?
Holy fuck! She's back!